Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very random, very special episode. With me here today is an animator by the name of Simon Bede. He's a 2D animator with an extensive list of credits, working on titles such as Spy Family, Kageki Shoujo, Digimon Adventure 2020, the Gawr Gura the VTuber animation, and many more. Simon.
Hello.
Please say hello.
Hi. I'm good. My voice cracked. I'm fine.
Oh, God. We're off to a tremendous start, aren't we?
We're off to a great start. I'm glad to be here, by the way.
Awesome. But, so Simon.
Yes?
I've also heard that you went to Sheridan Animation, right?
So this is what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about art schools right off the bat.
Oh, boy. So we're starting with this then? Okay. I went to Sheridan. I graduated in 2020, so I guess I got in 2016. And, it was pretty all right. No, it was a fun time, I learned a lot, but, obviously, I think the people who, got the most out of school were also those who went out of their way to do more learning on the side.
Yeah. My experience, well, I didn't go to Sheridan, but from my experience with other people who went there, they enrolled in, what was it, the Art Fundamentals program? So they pretty much deferred for 1 year and then took their chances to get into Sheridan. Yeah, and you graduated just around the pandemic era, right?
Yeah, so we had our graduation while the pandemic was going on. So we didn't get to experience all the fun stuff like, having the graduation party and like hanging out or just like throwing the hats up in the air like the movies they do.
I'm assuming animation kids are normal.
Nah. I wouldn't call them really normal. I'd call them kind of freaks, but like in an endearing way. Some less so, some very less so. But for the most part, like you have to be, you're probably a bit of a character if you get into animation, I'd say. There was a lot of that. Strangely enough, though, like as far as my year went, we got along pretty damn well.
I'm assuming at least 95% of them are anime fans to an extent, right?
Honestly, I would say maybe around more 70%. There were
Really?
definitely a lot of anime fans.
Oh,
Everyone
yeah, for sure.
knew about anime, right?
Yeah.
But you did have your fans of more like traditional kind of animation or 3D animation too, because you got to count that, right? That's not really like the hand-drawn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And good like a handful of like stop motion people as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Sheridan does actually have, like, in terms of animation, they touch on everything. In third year is around the time you start like specifying, and there was always at least one. There's always at least like one group film that is done in stop motion, which I think is like really great, just because you obviously don't see that very often at all.
Yeah, considering how much people consider like stop motion dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really nice.
It's really great. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, because I'm assuming a lot of them are moving into 3D, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly see that way too. One of my friends who was like on the upper rungs of like the skill ladder, I guess, he was like talking about how there was like a SpongeBob short, or maybe it was like an episode done in like all 3D, but they made it look like stop motion, and he was like, oh man, this is gonna kill stop motion animation, man. You don't even have to like think twice about it. And to a degree, there's like some validity behind that. I can understand it, but I do still think that there's something about stop motion that's like just really, really nice. And even the work itself, I think, is like really fun to do, because you're working with your hands with an actual physical thing in front of you. I think until you can finally fully integrate that with, I don't know, some like VR stuff or any of that stuff, it's like there's always going to be like stop motion people doing it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to recall like what last a couple of films really had like I guess put the attention on stop motion again. So the most recent one is probably the Guillermo del Toro one, right? Pinocchio.
Yep.
And I think, oh god, when did Kubo come out? Kubo and the Two Strings. Did that come out like 5-6 years ago?
That one came out like a while ago. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, that one was so good though.
It was fantastic. I thought it was so pretty, and the art direction was amazing too.
Yeah.
It's like such a treat to look at. That was in 2016.
Yeah, 2016, yeah. Jeez. Yeah, that thing's timeless. Like the way that everything was animated, the production value, just the entire look. Like you can watch it from any era and you can respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is one thing that I'd say that is probably one thing that stop motion does have over other things, because everyone knows that like a style or like a certain way something looks like, eventually that's going to run out of favor, or it's going to be overused like too much. But we can all imagine ourselves like playing with like a doll or like a figure or something, and then just like imagining them like fighting in our heads. So to see it's like actually on the screen and like doing all the cool stuff we have in our heads, it's like it's something special. And I don't think it's something that is going to be recreated too easily in the future.
Yeah, especially I think with how everything is going right now. Like stop motion has like a wonderful retro feeling to it.
Yes.
It's so counterintuitive and on how long it takes just to do a single shot, for instance.
Yeah.
And I think just by that context alone, like there is like a timeless quality, as you mentioned earlier. Just like for example, like I'll just bring Kubo again. Like I'm assuming you've seen like the behind the scenes videos, right?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like just you can tell by how much time has progressed, but like I think it took them 3 days just to shoot like one scene, like a part of one scene.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like Kubo doing like a backflip, and I think it took them like half a day just to do. It's like, oh my god.
You definitely had to be a certain kind of person to be able to just like have the patience to like do that, and then you have to worry about like a lamp being bumped or something looking off and then having to go back and fixing it.
Yeah, if like if a strand of hair is off, then you have to do it all over.
Someone mentioned like in terms of like the hierarchy of difficulty for animation is like stop motion is pretty high at the top. You're pretty much doing it straightforward. You have to make sure everything looks good. It's a long process, and like a single like a minute problem with either the camera or the lights, and then everything is just gone to hell and you have to redo it.
Yeah, because I think for that as well, like you really have to show a lot of patience, and it's an art form that you cannot rush whatsoever. Because I think with at least 3D animation, well, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but there is like you can at least render something like the entire way through, whereas with stop motion animation, you really have to take things literally one shot at a time.
If you think about stop motion, it's kind of like you have to set yourself up for success, otherwise you end up having to redo everything.
Yeah.
So if you don't get it right at the start, if everything is not at where it needs to be, then there can be a lot of mistakes that you had to fix.
Yeah, so it's like if you mess up one shot midway, then you're pretty much screwed. Whereas I think with 3D animation or something along the lines of that, you can correct it like with a computer, or at least you can mitigate that damage.
Or outsource it to a different studio in a poorer part of the world to get it done for you.
Yeah. Whereas with stop motion, you can't just transport your entire set to another group of people. Like you have to be there. The crew have to be there because they know where everything goes and everything.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like, I don't know, it's gonna take a while, but like for now, stop motion is like something very, very specific and special. When you see it, it's always just really enjoyable.
So, but speaking of time consuming, let's talk about your job.
What, animation? No, it's fine. All you do is like you just like wave your hand around like a screen, and then like the computer does it for you pretty much.
Don't you know, man? You just draw a couple lines and then boom, it's all done for you. Who needs in-betweeners? Who needs that? It's all done for you.
Yeah. funnily enough, I just saw like a tweet earlier of like
Oh,
someone
no.
was like, yeah, I'll show you my process for like making a piece. And then it took me a second, but like as soon as I got it, I was just like, oh my God. So what he did was like, I'll show you my process. And he pretty much just like, he had like a white canvas, and then he just took the eraser tool and erased around stuff. It was just like, oh, I hope someone falls for that, because that is so funny. That is pretty much how like people who don't understand art think art works, like digitally.
Yeah, it's like Twitter is such a cesspool, like probably the worst takes you've ever seen in your life.
Oh yeah.
And every day I go on that hellscape, I wonder how I haven't lost my sanity. Like, there's so many freaking bad takes on art Twitter, and like the people who think like good art in of itself takes no time whatsoever.
It's so
Jesus Christ.
frustrating and annoying. The solution I've found is to just follow mostly Japanese artists.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Because those people at least know when to keep their mouth shut, I realized.
Yeah, because and I mean I can't really read Japanese, and also most of them either post artwork or like pictures of food.
Or just really wholesome content, like their cats or like, yeah, their pets, essentially.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's great fun. That's enjoyable. Otherwise, I've not checked my like main Twitter in a long time.
Oh god, yeah,
Mostly 'cause
don't. You're not doing
it's
yourself
full of
any
artists. Yeah.
But speaking of enjoyable,
Yes, the job.
your Spy Family, Spy Family, you animated, what was it, episode 10? It was the dodgeball episode, right?
Yeah, so I didn't animate on it. It's like, so Japanese animation is very different in the sense that there's like different parts of the process pretty much.
Please explain everything, because I think what I also wanted to do this interview because myself and I'm sure a lot of people want to know like how the process of animation works, because it's kind of like a closed door kind of occupation. I feel like, especially with the Japanese. So we're pretty much really going mostly on speculation or on the scraps of info like the Japanese side of thing have divulged. And because you're one of those, one of the few who've actually worked with Japanese companies, I think this is a really valuable information for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So maybe you can please like explain like the process and everything.
Sure, I'll explain it as best I can, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm just like a worker. So there's a lot of the process that is like still kind of a mystery to me. Like anything before the boards are done is like, I don't know how that works. But I mean, it starts off pretty standard, like similar, right? Like you got your storyboards and then you have like the timing and all that kind of figured out. But you got the storyboards for your main idea, right? Then those segments, you got your boards and then you got your segments and your cuts pretty much. So usually what they do is they like ask people, or at least from what I've seen so far, they ask people or they assign segments to certain people to do them, right? So for example, let's take the Gura animation. They were asking us like, okay, which segments look like you want to do them, pretty much.
Okay.
Now, luckily, I was able to pick, or at least like give my choice for which ones I wanted to do, right? And yeah, so we were pretty much given like our segments, or we like ask, or we tell them like, hey, I want to do this cut, like this segment here or that segment over there.
Oh, they actually give you choices.
Yeah, sometimes. Like like sometimes, you know, depending on, it's like Western industry too, right? Depending on who's like the person's quality or skill they want, like this or that person to work on this shot or whatever. So I was able to choose a couple of mine, and I started out with the layout process. Layout process is kind of like rough animation in that it's there to like figure out like the rough timing of something, but it's not fully set in stone. So unlike Western animation, in layout, you don't have to do like all of the rough frames. So like, and all the rough in-betweens pretty much. So
it's this is the step after storyboard, right?
Yeah. This is when they hand out the segments to like the animators.
Okay.
So you're given the segments, you do like a rough kind of version of them. They don't have to be perfect, they don't have to be like super clean. They don't even have to have all the frames in there. What it's used for is more to just figure out how, if the timing works, or if they gotta like fix it up or move things around or ask for more stuff. That's what they call, I think that's the end.
So that's when they correct stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So after you send your shot in, it'll come back. Either it'll come back, in the worst case scenario, it comes back to you because it's not looking right and then you have to fix it again. But usually what happens is it'll come back with corrections.
Okay.
And whoever the lead is on the project will correct those drawings and then give it back to the second key people. And second key is pretty much just cleaner lines. It's like the tie down stage. But the second key stage is to clean up the animation to make it look...
to make it more presentable, to make it more legible, I guess?
Yeah. You're trying to match the animation to the... You're trying to match to model, or like to the model sheets a bit more, make it look like nicer, because those drawings get sent to the cleanup afterwards. Let me see if I can...
Okay, so they have animators, and then they have key animators, and then they have the cleanups, right?
Yeah.
So you already, I would say maybe 3 departments are involved?
Yeah.
Just for a short animation, right?
And that's for like all the cuts too. But also, you know, depending on the cut, it's like sent back to the same person, or they'll do, like, I did a lot of my second key drawings for my segments as well. Not all of them, because you gotta spread the work around, right? It makes it easier. But yeah, so the big important part about the second key stage is you do those lines because it goes to the cleanup, right? So those are the ones you'll see in, like, if you go to a con, or you like are lucky enough to find an anime cell somewhere, or I guess if you go on Sakugaburu, they have like some I guess those are technically second key drawings.
Okay, so like the Genga drawings?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fun fact, you're also on Sakugaburu.
Yeah, I am. That's I don't know why, but
yeah, you made it, man. You made it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I didn't get there by myself. I got there.
Sakugaburu, you're on ANN.
Oh my god. I got there with the thanks and the help of, like, shout outs to my friend Porky. He's the one who brought me on the Gura project, and he's the like honest stand-up guy. But I'm gonna send this to you on Discord, but a drawing like that is like a second key drawing. It's like it's much closer. It almost looks like line work, but it's not quite line work yet. But that is the main goal, is like
essentially like Genga drawings that you see on conventions where people would buy, like
yeah,
some people would spend up to thousands of dollars on it. Yeah,
but it's also because it's like, and they have like a decent amount, but that's mostly because there are like a lot of these drawings just done.
Yeah, and I'm assuming there's a decent amount of detail as well, so it's not like just like literally storyboard scribbles. I'm assuming no one would buy those.
No, absolutely.
Like this. Yeah, this has shading. This has a decent amount of detail. Like, you know exactly what's going on. So
yeah,
this is like perfect. Yeah, selling material.
Funny story about that though. Sometimes, apparently, I haven't experienced it before, but apparently sometimes in the industry you'll get some people who will, like, they'll do the layout, right? Which is like the rough animation.
Yeah.
And then they'll do like the keyframes, so like the two drawings that are like follow one another. And then the rest in the middle, if it's a complicated animation, they'll do all mannequins. And then sometimes, although I think it's very rare, but it does happen, that gets sent to the second key artist, and they have to fill in all those mannequins with all the detail from the other two, and they have to put it on model.
God.
Yeah. So
basically they're working multiple jobs at once, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, sometimes that will happen. It's like the second key is...
Especially when there's no info.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes second key will have to do some in-between frames, or like, you know, some like breakdown drawings as well when there's not as much info. Those drawings don't have to be done as in as much detail, but they do have to have like enough detail so that they follow. It can get a little bit difficult sometimes, but you know, that's the anime industry for you. And also the mannequin things, it's like it's very rare that happens. usually that gets sent back to the person who did the layout, and they're like, you can't do this. You have to fill in the other drawings. You're going to kill the second key animator.
So from your experience, how I'm assuming like the deadlines are they more strict on the Western side of things, or are they more strict on the anime side? Because they both of them are pretty brutal, from what I've heard.
In their own regards, yeah. Like Western side, it is like typically like bi-weekly. You have to have your cuts done, or by the week, or like a certain amount of frames. Anime side, it's usually like depending on the project, right? Some things are like the Gura one is like a short animation it was like a short animation, and there was like a decent amount of time for that one. If you're working for an anime though, that is like a show that's airing, then you do have to the schedule is pretty damn bad. Sometimes you will get like calls or.
Do you have any horror stories?
I would call them horror stories, but most of the time I've done it was when it's like just when you suffer with a friend, it's not as much as a horror story, but
shared suffering.
Yeah.
Pain split.
Yeah. There are a couple times where something or the PA will like ask you, hey, we got this cut done from a person, but it's really not looking all that great, and I know you're like done your cuts, but could you like polish it up or like make it look better? And then you just kind of have to sigh and be like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. But
just like throw your arms in the air, just go like, oh, fuck it. Fuck
yeah.
it all.
But like, ultimately it is up to you too, right? Like, so if you decide to take something on that's and you're like struggling with it, then it's like, well, that was your choice, buddy. You got to suffer through it.
So how would the communication work from your side? Because, well, you're in Canada, so let's say when you're working on an anime, for instance, how would the communication work? Do you have like a direct line of connection with, like, let's say a translator or with the director, or is there like a whole new way, a system of doing things? Because we know that there are foreign animators living in Japan, but it seems nowadays, especially with COVID happening, we're seeing like a rise of, I guess, overseas workers, I guess, for lack of a better term.
For myself, I am more just like, I'm kind of like a contractor, I'd say. And I work through another friend of mine. So for me, it's more just like a long game of telephone. Mm-hmm. I pretty much just ask my friend about the scenes, and then he asks the PA, and then the PA asks, I guess the people who are working on it, either like the lead or the director or whatever.
So essentially a game of broken telephone.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's not really, it's not too broken though. Like the communications so far have been pretty good. Although I will say, again, I'm kind of just like a grunt, so I'm not really dealing with the forefront of dealing with, what people are actually saying. So maybe it's worse. I'd have to ask him sometime. But yeah, no, you don't really get much time to talk to like the people directly, I'd say. So I'm working under a friend of mine who has been working for anime for about, I think, 2-3 years now. He gets contacted by the PA who is helping the overseas people pretty much to organize stuff and figure out what they have to do. Yeah, so it is like a broken telephone game.
Yeah, because I think with the spread of anime overall, we're also seeing like homegrown animation studios. Oh geez, did my internet just cut out?
No, it was just...
Okay. My internet is kind of notorious for just cutting out at random times, so if I just cut in randomly, like, or if you think I'm being rude, that's probably because my internet's just being absolutely ass.
No, not at all, because over here it's also like raining pretty bad as well.
Oh god.
It's okay. If it gets bad, I'll just switch to the other provider and then eventually switch back to the other provider.
At least you can move to a provider. I have literally one in my entire area, and well, Bell Canada, I'm assuming, but
Oh god.
yeah, so they have a monopoly in my area. So
Ah, dude. All right, man.
it's like, I want tech savvy. It's like, can you give me tech savvy? Can you give me Kojiko? Can you give me any of that? It's like, no, I'm sorry. It's like Bell pretty much bought all the landlines in your area, so it's like,
Oh god, I hate Canadian internet so much.
it's better than downtown Toronto.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, but yeah, we've seen like a bunch of homegrown animation studios, so it's not as professional, I guess you could say, but it's a bunch of animators working abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sort of like a collective, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like an online studio pretty much.
Yeah, essentially.
People who are really, really good got together and decided to make a studio. And, for what it's worth, they have done a really great amount of stuff.
Yes.
I think probably that will become more of a thing in the future. A couple other places as well have started doing that kind of outsourcing work from Japan, from all around the world.
And Japan is, I guess, comfortable with just, outsourcing a bunch of their work to, or I guess for lack of a better term, foreigners. Because we know how apprehensive they are working with outsiders.
It definitely depends on the studio, I think. Some are still very much just kind of, not open to the idea of working with people overseas. I mean, I'm not sure much about Japan, but they have a process that they've been using since forever, and they'd rather not change that. So, that's more of their choice. But some of the newer studios are starting to open up to the idea of letting other people help.
Yeah.
I think what probably happened was it started small with they would commission out, or they would get really, really good good individuals to help out with a project. You would see a French name on One Piece, or I don't know, a Spanish name on Naruto or something, and be like, oh, that's interesting. And it's usually because they've proven their mettle and need help with something, or they want to make something look really good.
Yeah.
So over time, I'm guessing because either there's a shortage, or there's not enough people, or there's too much work to be done, they have started to open up a little bit more and accept help from Western people or people around the world. But yeah, no, it's been a nice opportunity for people to try out and see if they can get their hands in a different pipeline, which I think is really interesting and fun and organized, I'd say. Well, I mean, organized to the degree that you know what you gotta do.
Organized chaos, I guess you could say.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everything is all frantic at the last minute, and then magically everything just falls into place.
Yeah, or it doesn't, and then it's just a headache. But that's kind of the price you pay for working in anime.
Anime or animation? I think animation in general, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Animation has that issue too. Now we got pretty much people from all around the world working on these projects, and my mentality with all this is if you're good enough and you can handle stuff and you can do it on time and orderly, then I don't think there's much of a reason to complain.
I think time management is kind of an underrated skill, especially with animation. Considering you guys are always in a time crunch.
I don't know if it's underrated. I think it's probably one of the most important things.
It's skill and everything else great, but if you're awful at time management, people will just not want to work with you.
Yeah. I've had it explained from school actually as a triangle.
Oh, is it that choose two meme?
Yeah, pretty much. You can either have get it done on time, get it done for cheap, or get it done to look nice.
Yeah.
So you can have it done and cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only choose two. So it's you can have it done on time and cheap, but it's gonna take. No, I don't know. I think I messed that up. But the principle is still there, right?
The initial meme was a triangle that said choose two, and it said, what do you call it? Good grades, enough sleep, and what was it? Everything done quickly or something. And then it evolved into art school form, where it's either get it cheap, done really well,
yeah,
or what was it? Have it done on time or something. Or it's one of those three, and it's choose two. You can never choose all three of them. It's simply impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am very well aware of that.
Yeah. Very rarely will you get the one person who is just like the crazy outlier who can do all three at the same time. Like, there's like one or two people I can count on the top of my head that I've met out of like a sea of just artists everywhere. It's like, but they're like a different kind of breed of person too, so.
So I guess when it comes to animation from both Western and Eastern, for you guys, you use Toon Boom, right? Mainly for animation, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to like go back and forth between programs for when you're doing anime, or do you just use the same program?
No, I would flip between programs. I think it's like a nice kind of separation too, because it's like you don't confuse your brain all that much. Well, I mean, I guess you would be confusing your brain, but it's almost like you're compartmentalizing. Like, Toon Boom is for Western work, Clip Studio is for like Japanese work that I gotta do.
They use Clip Studio.
Yeah, so a lot of studios do use Clip Studio at the moment. The corrections, most of the time the corrections get done. Actually, a lot of the corrections get done on paper. So a lot of the people in Japan, the leads still draw on paper, but that's also because they're kind of old. They're kind of old guys, and they have their way that works best for them. So, and it's always really cool to see their like pencil drawings and how like nice it looks too. So I'm not complaining.
I guess the boomer animators, they don't want to migrate to something like Wacom Cintiq or something more modern.
No, because there is definitely like a difference in when you're drawing on paper versus drawing on a screen. So
yeah,
it probably just to them it probably doesn't feel right, and that probably like throws them off their mojo. If I had to take a guess.
yeah, I can attest to that. Like, drawing on a Cintiq, as nice as it is, like that sensation of like a graphite pencil, like drawing on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You can't replicate that. Because I think on a Cintiq, it feels like everything's too squeaky, I guess you could say.
A Cintiq is like, depending on the screen you're working on, like it's very
squeaky, like too clean.
You can tell you're drawing on a different surface. It's not the same as like paper that has a bit more grit.
Yeah, it feels artificial. I think that's the best way to put it. It feels artificial.
There's also like a bit of like screen space between your drawing pen and like the actual like screen as well. So there's like a bit of parallax and a little bit of like offset. It's not 1-to-1, like not actual 1-to-1.
Yeah. So when you use Toon Boom, so I'm assuming Toon Boom, did you guys start using it during Sheridan, or did you guys have to learn it like after graduation? Because I remember back in my day. No, go ahead.
Oh no! I didn't have anything to say.
Okay. Oh god. Okay. So Simon, I'm gonna show you something that you're gonna get Vietnam flashbacks from. Okay. I'm gonna send you this, and I want you to open it.
Okay. All right. I'm a little worried, but let's go ahead.
It's not anything bad.
Let's see. Oh god. It's not bad, but there it is. Hello. This is the new one. This is for 2024. 2023.
Oh, this is not the actual one. I just got it from the Sheridan website. But before this recording, I basically flipped through like their requirements, and
I think it's probably what they use though.
I'm actually kind of surprised how same everything is. Same all the requirements are. Like, obviously figure drawing, hand drawing, character animation. The one big thing is apparently you have to learn how to use open tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have never seen that. And I am pretty old for internet standards, so I looked at this and was like, geez, you guys are fully in the digital age now.
Yeah, no, they pretty much are now. They want you to do a short animation as well now.
Wow, they're expecting a lot from you.
Did you tell the audience what you sent over? Or?
Oh yeah. So what I showed Simon here is basically the requirements to get into Sheridan Animation in 2023-2024 year. And the Sheridan Animation department is infamous for being very, very picky. So if you went to Sheridan, pretty much means that you're a really good animator right off the bat.
You've got the skill, or you've got the skills of, or the makings of one.
Yeah. I wonder if they still score everything by 100. Do they still do that?
Is it by 100? No, they do it like off of the last. When I got in, it was like, no, I think it was out of 100.
And what was the requirement? Like, what's the bare minimum score? Is it an 80 or is it a 75?
Bare minimum, I think it was like 85, maybe. I think.
Yeah, because I remember one girl got like a 97 or a 98, and they're like, "What the fuck? What did you do to get in here?"
Sold their soul to the devil, or they were just like born. Their parents were artists or something. I don't know. Of all the programs though, I understand though why they would choose OpenTunesy though, because it is a free program for animation.
So like, is OpenTunes like a program that I guess is it the industry standard, or is it sorry, or is it pretty much like dip your toes into it, just get yourself acquainted to it?
It might be industry standard, at least in Japan, for cleanup, because it has a couple functions in there that like help with rendering. Otherwise though, I would not. No, I don't think so. But again, it is a free program.
Just to show you how old I am, we still use Adobe Flash.
Excuse me, Macromedia Flash. I'm not calling what Adobe's got as Flash now Flash. Fuck that.
Oh god. What was it? What is...
It was
what did it used to be called? What was it? Adobe Flash Animation, I think it's called.
Yeah, early days of the internet, it was like Macromedia Flash.
Yeah, Macromedia Flash, but that was like mandatory across the like all internet platforms.
Yeah.
And I think there was an actual Macromedia, not Macromedia, Adobe Flash Animation, where you could actually make animations with it.
Yeah. So eventually Adobe bought Macromedia, and then they bought Flash, and since CS3 I think is gone, like that's a whole huge animation program debate, but all I know is people still swear by like Macromedia stuff and they hate Adobe stuff now, so that's where it ends for me.
Do people even use Adobe Flash anymore?
I don't know. Some studios still use it. Like when I graduated, I had to work on a project and they were using Flash for the animation. It was not a pleasant drawing. It was not a pleasant animation. It was not pleasant to animate in that.
Yeah, because I remember like I had to do that like in high school for one of my school projects. And like the extent that you could do was like literal shapes, like circle, square, triangle.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, that's real old then. Damn.
Well, I'm showing my age here, but Jesus Christ.
Did you not have the brush tool?
I think we were just introduced the brush tool.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Jesus, I'm getting like Vietnam flashbacks right now. I swear to God.
That's when all the Flash animations started popping off, as like I guess when they introduced the brush tool to Macromedia.
I am going to show you guys right now Adobe Flash Animation Interface. Yeah, CS3.
Okay, yeah. I wonder if I'm older than you actually, because I was using the one before that.
Oh, what year were you born?
1995.
Oh no, I'm older than you. It's okay.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I'm ancient.
But this is so they had Flash in school, and like what you're saying is they had Flash in school when you were going.
Yeah, Adobe Flash CS3. Yeah, this is the one.
Okay, then yes, that was a while ago. Yeah. Then okay.
Yeah, I remember we had to learn this, and it was absolutely awful.
Aw, what a classic layout. I don't like it.
Do you guys have to learn with After Effects as well? Or is it just like a photography tool, I guess, for the animation department?
We had one program. We did have like one class, a couple classes for After Effects stuff. Because eventually you are going to have to put your film together and make it look pretty, right? So we did have to do that. It was a fun time. It was useful, and I think I got a good amount of info from that. Compositing, though, is a completely different, different place.
Oh yeah, it's a completely different process. It's a completely different animal. It's less about like drawing individual frames, but it's more like how can I make these frames, or how can I manipulate the light sources to make everything as amazing as possible.
Yeah, What plugins do I use to cover up how rough everything looks?
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if you're a Gundam fan, but oh I call it. Have you heard of a show or have you heard of a movie called Gundam Hathaway?
I've not.
Okay, so there is
Gundam
a
Hathaway.
photographer. There's a digital photographer. His name is Kentaro Waki, I believe. Check him out on Twitter. He has amazing composite behind the scenes footage. I think his Twitter is Hicon Maniacs, Hicon Maniacs.
He was a compositor for Gundam then.
He was he was a compositor for Gundam, a bunch of the UFO table stuff. I think he did Demon Slayer. I'm not 100% sure, but
I could believe it if he's.
yeah, like he does like all the flashy.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, it like makes a huge difference when you actually see it in person. Or like the before and after shots are really interesting to look at.
Yeah, like cause the one thing that I've noticed, especially with modern anime nowadays, is how much lighting really does play a huge role. Just the entire mood of the series. Because I think back in the 1980s, 90s, or just with cell animation, you were working with limited resources, but nowadays, like with computers and everything,
Yeah.
The world is pretty much at your fingertips, right?
Pretty much. Am I gonna sound pretentious because I kind of like the look of his stuff that is like before the comp.
Oh no! It's not pretentious at all. No.
Okay. I mean, it could be a little pretentious. I don't know. Me personally, I do like the look of like I like to see the cells and all that stuff.
Yeah, like you want to see like the before and after, like how the process got there. Like I don't know if this is a hot take, but I prefer seeing the Genga versus the final product. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I want to see an anime just on Genga.
Yeah. No, I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, just an anime on Genga, and I'm sold. I don't care about the flashy colors. I don't care about the flashy lighting. Just give me an anime with its just in its bare bones state, and 100% I will watch that.
No, I think it's probably one of the reasons why I enjoy like a lot of the older or like a lot of the older anime, or at least maybe it's probably also just nostalgia because it like reminds me of a simpler time when you didn't have a bunch of post-processing stuff.
Or it didn't remind you of the painful times when you're an animator and go, oh, this is the deadline.
Yeah, that too. Oh man, these are really pretty though.
Yeah, check them out, Kentaro Waki.
I still prefer. I like the painted cells more. I know that's like it sucks too because it's like these people they work really hard, but it's like man, I like to see the drawings. Oh well.
Ooh, how do you feel about AI actually? Now that I think about it.
I think
Is that a bit of a challenging question?
it is because it's very easy to go one way or the other. You're either one of those people who like embraces it fully, or you're the kind of person who is like AI is the worst thing to happen to the world of art. I mean like everything, I think there's like a bit of a middle ground. Like it's certainly very helpful if you want to like use it as a tool to figure stuff out. Like I know how to animate, but I don't know how to shade things at all. I suck at shading. So having the AI help me out to like figure out like a place to start off is like super useful, but I would not have the AI do all of my shading or like be the end result. I've had conversations with friends and I've said it before like a lot of times, but like after a while you see enough AI stuff where you realize after a while you just look at it and you're like, this looks like every other AI piece that I've seen so far. And I'm not sure if that's because of like the way people put in prompts or because the AI is like grabbing from the same bank all the time, but it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, I'm not really impressed anymore. I feel like I've seen either the exact same face 1,000 times or the way it's painted or the way it looks. It's like it's just kind of boring.
Yeah, like I think it's hypocritical to say I'm completely against AI, especially when we've all used software that has some form of AI integration built into it. Like we've all used plugins, we've all used those sort of prompts to help us in our work, in our professional and personal work. Yeah, but at the same time, I think the people, at least who rely entirely on AI, most of those people tend to be those who, I guess, for lack of a better term, don't fully appreciate the time and effort that went into making the stuff that you want to see or someone else wants to see, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're in it for like I think they're in it for the same reason like people have. I'm gonna show my age now. They're in it for the same reason why like a lot of people have social media or like TikTok or Instagram and all that stuff. It's like the quick dopamine hit of like, oh, look at this cool thing, and then that's it. Certainly like you can do like a lot of cool stuff with AI, like, and I'm sure there is like a process that does take longer where you're like taking bits and pieces here and then erasing stuff out and then trying to find the right stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like it's just like it's like a tool. I watched a video about like AI, people who call themselves AI artists, and it's like the guy like, yeah, as the guy made a point that like you're not really an artist, you're just kind of like, you're like a commissioner because you're like given in prompts and then the program is doing it for you. It's like then that goes into the whole conversation of what is like an artist and all that stuff. But I don't know, with anything that like gets stuff done faster and quicker, it's like you're always gonna find, I don't know, someone who is gonna try and use it to like exploit it or get stuff out of it.
And even if they want something done really quick, I think at the end of the day, like the really talented and the people who are really good at their job, I think their jobs will, from what I could see, the customers will come to you.
Yeah, I think so. I think like I have seen like a lot of people complain about AI too, and or how they want to like regulate it or how they want to like shut it down or do something that makes it impossible for it to use it. And seen a lot of also other people talk about how like AI art has made them want to give up. And I understand how it can be discouraging, but at the end of the day, if you really enjoy doing art, are you really just going to give up because a program is just going to do or like make some generic thing quickly? It's like you got to think about your priorities here. Like, are you doing art because that's a time to think about it. It's like, are you doing art for clout or are you doing art because you want to be able to draw and make stuff that only you can do, or you want the satisfaction of being able to do that stuff?
Are you gonna let a program push you around?
Yeah,
it's like a throwback to art school, right? People get into art school and then I think around 20 to 30% of the people just drop out because it's not to their liking, or they realize that, I like drawing, but that's only like once a week or every once in a while.
Yeah.
But like, do you really want to make that a part of who you are, or do you want to make that like your livelihood? And if you can't even answer the first question, then what are you doing here in the first place, right?
Yeah. It's important to ask that stuff, because if the answer is like no, I just want to like get popular or like make something like really quick that like gives me the satisfaction really quick, then it's like you could do that in like a ton of like different ways, but like art's not gonna be the way you're gonna do it.
Art has a nasty way of turning its head around and just telling you, yeah, your work kind of sucks if you half-ass it. I learned that very quickly.
Yeah, pretty much. And you know what? It's fair. That's true though. But like, it's honest. It's like,
yeah. You go to first year. You you half-ass your first project. You get decimated by your profs and student crit every other week or so, and you go, oh okay, they can see that I rushed it.
Yeah, they're gonna call you out for it, and like you've done a bad job. You can get upset and defensive about it, but like at the end of the day, it's like, unless you're really not self-aware or psychopath or something, like your quality is really kind of dependent on you.
Spoken like a true animator.
That's why I keep studying and why I keep on going back to studying, because I'm not good yet. My stuff still looks bad.
Jeez. Wait, so you're only a couple years younger than me. So I'm assuming you went to school before Sheridan, right?
Yeah. I actually did end up going to the fundamentals program at Sheridan too.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So you grinded it out through the fundamentals program then.
I grinded it out through the fundamentals program and then didn't get into animation. So I took
Jeez.
a year off and I took some online courses and eventually I made it.
Hey, there we go. The struggle worked.
Yeah, the struggle worked. But, I also kind of don't really see it as a struggle. It's just kind of, I know that I wanted to do animation or do art as like a job, so it didn't seem less like a struggle. It seemed more of just like,
A process.
yeah, like if I keep at it, I'm gonna get there eventually. Which, sometimes maybe not the best mindset to have, but
That's like a metaphor for animation.
pretty much,
If you keep working at it, you'll get there.
yeah.
You'll get there unless the key animator comes in and be like, yeah, change this around.
Yeah, and that's the case, then you kind of screwed. Sorry about it.
And then the key animator is like God in real life.
Mm-hmm. But, they started off in a similar place too, right? Like, they were probably like,
Oh yeah. Like we all sucked at some point.
yeah, again, like very, very rarely you'll find the person who's gonna be like, just, God.
Amazing from the get-go.
Yeah. And typically those people too already know, like, they know exactly what they want to do. They know what they want to do to get there. It's like, you can't compare yourself to them because that's like a different head entirely,
Yeah, because I think a good tip, if any budding artists are out there, is try to compare your current stuff from last year, and if you don't see enough of a difference, compare your current stuff to 5 years ago, and then your current stuff to 10 years ago. You'll notice that there's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's a great one. I mean, and also just realize that there are going to be times where you feel like your art isn't improving at all.
Oh yeah.
And it might be a week, it might be a month, it could be years where you're just like, my art looks the same and I don't like it. But, when you notice that, it's like that's a good moment. That's like a good time to just kind of like take a step back to like think about it and maybe go back to basics and understand how to actually how to draw ahead. What's also easy to kind of like fall into is like thinking you had to do something a certain way as well.
Well, to be fair, like copying someone's style at the start isn't a bad idea if it allows you to find your own style later on.
No, not at all.
And like if you ever have, or you 100% will always get that feeling that you're not good enough, to a certain extent, that's also kind of healthy because it also means that you want to get better and you do want to get better. So that's always, or having a moderate amount of it is always healthy. But yeah, just make sure it doesn't like take over your life or anything.
If you look back on your stuff or like you finish something and you realize that it's not that great, it's just meaning, to me that always just means like your eyes have caught up to your brain pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
So like while you're doing something you might think you're like doing fantastic, and then like you finish it and then a couple weeks will go by and you realize like, oh man, this looks like shit. It's like, it's not because you're actually shit. It's
You're
because
yeah,
you're getting better, or you've seen more really good stuff and you're able to compare it more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just part of like getting there, getting to where you want to be.
and you're able to identify some of the parts that you can improve on.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'll give an example, but like recently I've gone back to studying like how to draw heads and how to draw hands. And that's not because like I don't know how to draw one. I can, but I was not really enjoying the way I have been drawing it because I've been following like processes from other people, which is fine, but at some point you kind of like, you can't really rely on the stuff you've already covered or the habits you already know. You have to like find a certain way that you do it a bit different, or like that works for you to get the results you want. That's at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is like, is this closer to what I want it to look like? And if the answer is yes, then like keep on exploring that path.
You're in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think that was a very helpful note to close out on this very special episode, Simon. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. It was like
No
very
problem.
interesting to talk about all this stuff.
Hope you had fun. Hope you had fun on on your appearance on this channel. And yeah,
Yeah, I hope the viewers like me.
very inspiring last couple of minutes for anyone not wanting to just be an animator, but just anyone who wants to be an artist as a whole.
I hope so. We need more people who are just kind of genuine about it.
Ayy. And we're putting this out on YouTube. Ayo.
Wow.
Shots fired.
No, I mean, like, it's very easy to just kind of follow the crowd or, like, do what gets you popular, right? But I think real happiness kind of comes from being able to be true to yourself and do what makes you happy or what resonates with you more.
And what makes us happy truly is struggling in the industry. struggling in the industry, trying to fight
Industry
for
struggles.
More apt conditions, I guess you could say.
Yeah, better life conditions, more benefits, more time to work on the stuff.
That is never going to change, though.
No, sometimes you can't have it all, you know? That's another important lesson to learn. You gotta choose one or the other.
Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Ta-ta.
Bye.
And a big shout out to Rich. Rich, if you're listening, you know who you are. Big thumbs up.